Hey C&D period, it's Mrs. O'Neill. Here is the long overdue but promised YouTube video on Investigation 1. I'm going to make a second one for Investigation 2 right after this. So let's start with this one. This is the template for Investigation 1. C period, you did a lot of this in class. D period, you only started this independently because of the schedule. So I'm still going to go over it, and I'm also going to go over, I'm going to skip ahead a little, also going to go over these two methods, SONA and OMAR. And what we're talking about here is the distributive property. So this is what the template looks like. Let's look at what your book has. And here we are in your book. We are on page 49 talking about the distributive property. So if I was in class with you, we talk about what does it mean to distribute. When I say somebody needs to pass out papers, you're distributing the papers. You're taking one item or one kind of item and you're passing them out to a lot of different people. So that's kind of the way I want you to think about how we're going to go about combining these bags and blocks, because we're using bags and blocks for this. So I think you guys already did this one, Shonda, Kate, Malik. So I'm actually not going to spend any time on this. I think everybody got that. If each are holding a bag and two extra blocks, I think you pretty much did the math on who has what. But I do want to talk about this. SONA and OMAR, two different ways to find the same amounts. So here's what we have. There are 3 bags, and there are 2 blocks in front of each bag. So when there are 20 in each bag, you have to count, well, how many total blocks are there? So SONA has this method. She counts how many blocks are in each section. So that she calls a section a bag with the blocks in front of it. So she knows her 20 blocks plus her 22 is going to be how many there are for this particular set or section. And since there are 3 of them, she's going to multiply whatever she gets in that one set by 3. So when she says each person has 22 blocks, so I multiplied 22 by 3 and got 66, she means she added the 20 plus the 22 and then multiplied it by 3 because there are 3 sets. Showed it mathematically in an expression using these parentheses. First, using PEMDAS, she would do parentheses first. First, she added together the blocks in the bag plus the 2 blocks on the outside. She got that sum, and then she multiplied that sum by 3, and there's 66. So that's SONA's method. OMAR has a different method, but he's going to end up with the same amount. OMAR's method is, instead of figuring out how much is in each set, let's separate it into bags and then blocks. I'm going to count how many blocks total there are in the bags, and then I'm going to count how many total there are, just these loose blocks. So he knows that there are 20 in each bag, so there's 20, 20, 20. I can also count that as 3 times 20. Here's his 3 times 20. And then he knows that there are 3 sets of 2 blocks that are standalone, 2, 2, and 2, which is 3 times 2. So he has a total amount of blocks for the bags, and then he has a total amount for the standalone blocks. And he adds them together to get his 66. So here's his 3 times 20, that's the bags, plus his 3 times 2, that's the standalone blocks. 3 times 20 is 60, 3 times 2 is 6, and 60 plus 6 is 66. And as you can see, it's the same. So it says here in your book, SONA and OMAR's methods both work no matter how many blocks are in each bag. And here's how you would express it algebraically. For SONA, it doesn't matter how many blocks there are in each bag. We're going to call it B. She's always going to take that amount, add the 2 standalone blocks to it, and then multiply it by 3 because there are 3 sets of these bags and blocks. Now OMAR's is going to be different. Again, it doesn't matter how many blocks are in the bag. He knows there are 3 bags of them though. So he's going to multiply that by 3. And he also knows that he's always going to have 3 sets of 2 blocks, 3 times 2. So for him, this is going to be his expression. 3 times however many blocks are in the bag, plus the 6 extra blocks. And for SONA, it's going to be however many blocks are in the bag, plus the 2 extra blocks, then multiply everything times 3. And it says, which way do you like to think about this situation? Do you have another way? You know, if you like my opinion, I prefer the parentheses just because it's something that we're going to get used to, but it's really up to you. The most important thing that I want you to look at is that you end up with the same thing. And some of you may remember from distributed property from last year, the little rainbow method, and we talked about this a little bit in C period, where what I'm doing is I'm multiplying that 3 when I'm outside the parentheses. That 3 is multiplied by the first term in the parentheses. That gives me 3b. And then I multiply it by the second term, which gives me the 6. So you're actually you're writing it in Sona's method, and then you're using Omar's method to what we call expand it. This is what is called the factored form. We're going to talk more about this on Friday, and this is called the expanded form. So now I'm going to take a look at your problems here, and I'm going to go to your investigation. So here you are, and we're going to scoot down. There's Shonda Kate. This just outlines again what we just talked about. Look, these two methods are exactly the same, many exclamation points. So keep that in mind. And this part here, this drawing a picture, this is just to sort of get you used to using models for the 6 blocks in each bag. So let's look. I'm going to show you how the picture part works, and then I'll stop, take a little break, and because you've already been listening to me for 6.5 minutes, which is a lot for anybody. So if I go back here, here's my model. I have 4 bags. I have 3 blocks in front of each bag. And then I don't know how many are in each bag to begin with, and then they give me these 4 different scenarios. So when it says draw a picture, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my drawing tools, and let's see if I can do this. So I'm going to just draw those 4 bags. She says, can she? There she is. Yay. Here's one bag. Another bag. Another bag. And another bag. And then we said there are, what, 3 blocks? I'm just going to, again, try not to judge me on this. It's pretty bad. Here are my 3 blocks. Let's look like little marbles. And there they are. So when it says use a picture, here you can see what this would look like. In C period, I actually brought out bags and blocks so you could see it, so maybe this will help. So it says there's 6 in each bag, so I'm going to write a 6, 6, 6, rather than making the 6 blocks. So Sona's way is I'm going to count up everything in this circle. 6 plus 3 equals 9. And I could even write it like that, 6 plus 3, and I'm going to keep that 9. I'm going to put it in parentheses and keep that 9 in my head. And then I know I have 4 sets of this, so I'm going to multiply it by 4. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 times 4, 56. Now let's see if I can erase this, and we'll do Omar's way. Omar's way, instead, come on Omar, there we go. Omar's way is he looks at it like this. He's going to look at all of these bags together first. He knows he has 4 sets, and he knows there's 6 in each, so he's going to count up how many are in bags. This is unfortunate. Hold on, let me try and get this back together here. There we go. So 4 times 6. I'll put parentheses there, but you don't really have to. Let's go back up so you can see the picture. There it is. So 4 plus 6. Then he's going to count the blocks. He knows he has 4 sets of 3. So I'm going to put this over here, 4 sets of 3. And he knows if he totals those together, that'll give him the total number of blocks. Well, this is 24, this is 12, and haha, we get 36 for each. So this is what I'm looking for in this number 1. And if you scroll down here, you'll see it's basically all the same thing, using 15, then 100. And then here I'm using what if there are B blocks. And if I go to number 2, it's the similar situation, only this time I have 2 bags and I have 4 blocks. So let me draw a picture for that. Let me make sure that looks cool. 3 sets. 3 sets of 2 bags and 4 blocks. So let's do that. 3 sets. There's my 2 bags. 1. Here's my second set of bags. Here's my third set of bags. And then I have 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just make sure that's what it looks like. Yes, it is. So now let's look at how I would use the picture. So it says how many blocks are there if there are 7 blocks in each bag. So I'm going to just put a 7 in each of these bags. And I still have the 4 blocks. So if I'm using Sona's method, I'm going to first figure out how many are there in each set. Here's my set. So that means first I'm going to figure out how many there are in each bag. So there are 2 sets of 7. Then I'm going to add, that's how many are in the bags. Then I'm going to add 4. And then I'm going to multiply the whole thing, and I'm putting brackets because I already have parentheses, by 3. Another way I could write this could be 3 times 14 plus 4. I know that there are 18 blocks right here in each set, and I know that if I did 18 times 3, that would give me 54, total of 54. Now, if I'm going to do Omar's way, try and erase this. Here's how our Omar would do it. He's going to first count up all of these. So he knows that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bags. So he's going to say I have 6 bags of 7 each. And then he knows that I have 3 sets of 4. And if I add both of those together, I should get the number of total blocks. And sure enough, it's the same thing. So Omar's way, Sona's way. And if you come down here, you do 11, you do 100, you do if you're using it with B. And then it's the same thing with ovals. We're telling you kind of what to do here. First you multiply the 2 by 7, then you add 4, then you multiply by 3. Here I'm taking my variable, remember what's changing here, I'm multiplying it by 6, then I'm adding together the product of 3 times 4. So the last part of this investigation, or the third part I should say, is you're using a flow chart to try and figure it out. And then the final part, I'm going to skip down a little bit here for this final part about Simon and Zoe. So it says she holds up 3 bags. She tells the class that each contain the same number of blocks. She removes 2 blocks from each bag. So how can you tell? So she holds up 3. They all have the same amount. And then she takes 2 from each bag. And then here are the different ways that they, of course, are arguing, because everybody does that, about how to figure out how many blocks there are. So Zoe says she would have the 3, if there are 7 blocks, she'd have the 3 bags of 7. And then she'd take 2 from each, which is 6. So first she'd figure out how many total she has, then she'd figure out how many total that she's removing, and then she'd subtract the 2, 15 blocks. Simon says something different. He says he's going to have 3 bags, But instead of figuring out the whole total, he's going to have his 7 blocks. He's going to take out the